Nobody saw this coming, and if you thought the Scrappy drama was already messy, what happened next just took everything to a whole new level. Because this time, it wasn't whispers, it wasn't side comments, and it definitely wasn't behind closed doors. This time, Bambi pulled up face to face with Britney, and let's just say, emotions ran high from the very first second. It all started with a quiet tension that fans had been picking up on for weeks. Subtle shade, awkward silence, and those looks, the kind that say everything without a single word. But when Bambi finally decided she had enough, she didn't hold back. Cameras were rolling, voices were raised, and what began as a simple conversation quickly turned into one of the most explosive confrontations this season has seen. "You knew exactly what you were doing," Bambi snapped, her voice shaking but firm. And just like that, the air shifted. Britney didn't back down either. In fact, she stood her ground in a way that left everyone stunned. "Don't try to play victim now," she fired back, setting off a chain reaction no one could stop. Fans are shocked, and honestly, nobody is picking sides easily. Because as the truth starts to unfold, things get complicated, fast. Allegations, secrets, and a past that refuses to stay buried all come crashing into the present. And at the center of it all? Scrappy. What did he really do, and why does it feel like everyone is hiding something? Because by the time this confrontation is over, friendships are tested, loyalties are questioned, and the family is left divided in a way that may not be fixable. The moment Bambi stepped out of the car, you could feel it in the air. Something was off, heavier than usual, like the kind of silence that comes right before everything falls apart. People nearby tried to act normal, cameras adjusting, whispers floating, but everybody already knew this was not going to be a calm conversation. This was something else entirely. And at the center of it all was one name that kept coming up again and again: Scrappy. Bambi walked in slow, controlled, but her face said everything. No smile, no hesitation, just a quiet storm building behind her eyes. Across the room, Britney was already there, arms folded, watching, almost like she had been waiting for this exact moment. The tension between them was not new, but today it felt different. Today it felt final. "So we really doing this?" Britney said first, breaking the silence, her tone sharp but steady. Bambi didn't sit down. She didn't even blink. "Yeah, we doing this. Because you been doing too much, and I stayed quiet long enough." The room shifted instantly. A few people tried to step back, giving them space, but no one left. Nobody wanted to miss what was about to happen. Fans are shocked now watching this unfold, but in that moment, everyone there knew this was about to get messy. Britney let out a small laugh, the kind that doesn't come from humor but from disbelief. "Too much? Girl, you sound crazy right now. Don't play with me," Bambi shot back, her voice rising just enough to cut through the room. "You knew exactly what you were doing when it came to Scrappy," and just like that, everything stopped. Scrappy's name hanging in the air changed the entire energy. Some people exchanged looks, others froze completely. Because this wasn't rumor anymore. This was direct. Britney's expression hardened. "Say what you really want to say." Bambi stepped closer now, closing the distance, her eyes locked. "You crossed a line. And you smiling in my face like nothing happened. That's the part that got me." For a second, Britney didn't respond. She just stared back, almost studying Bambi, like she was deciding how far she wanted to take this. Then she shook her head slowly. "You blaming me for something that ain't even what you think it is," she said. "Maybe you should be asking him some questions." And there it was. The first twist. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about Britney anymore. Now Scrappy was right in the middle of it, whether he was there or not. Bambi's jaw tightened. "Oh, trust me, I did. And guess what? His story don't match yours. Or maybe you hearing what you wanna hear." Britney snapped back, stepping forward now, matching Bambi's energy. Voices were rising. Emotions ran high, and you could feel the line between conversation and confrontation disappearing fast. "Nah," Bambi said, shaking her head. "What I see is a woman who got way too comfortable." "Comfortable?" Britney repeated, her eyebrows lifting. "You acting like I owe you something. You owe me respect," Bambi fired back instantly. The word hit hard. Respect. Because in this situation, that was everything. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Just heavy breathing, tension thick enough to feel. In the background, someone whispered, "This is about to go left," and they weren't wrong. Britney crossed her arms again, but this time it wasn't defensive, it was calculated. "You want to talk about respect, but you coming at me sideways based on half information." "Half?" Bambi almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I got messages. I got timing. I got people telling me what they saw. Don't play dumb with me." That made a few heads turn. Messages? Now the situation was getting deeper. Because if there was proof, then this wasn't just speculation anymore. Britney's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't look surprised. If anything, she looked ready. You talking about screenshots like that means something. You know how easy it is to twist things? So they fake? Bambi challenged immediately. Britney paused, just for a second, but it was enough. I didn't say that, she replied carefully. And that small hesitation said more than words could. Bambi caught it instantly. Exactly, that's what I thought. No, Britney snapped, her tone sharper now. What you think is that you got everything figured out, but you don't even know the full story. Then tell it, Bambi said, her voice dropping low, controlled again but more intense than before. Because right now, it looked real clear. For a moment, it seemed like Britney might actually say something, like she might reveal whatever had been hidden. Everyone leaned in, waiting. But instead, she shook her head. Nah, she said, I'm not about to sit here and let you flip this on me when the real issue is your man moving funny. And just like that, the blame shifted again. The family was left divided even in that room. Some people clearly siding with Bambi, others starting to question Scrappy's role in all of this. Because if Britney was telling the truth, then maybe this wasn't as simple as it seemed. Bambi's expression changed slightly, not weaker, but more focused. Don't try to redirect. We talking about you right now. No, we talking about all of it, Britney shot back. Because you don't get to come in here acting like I'm the only one involved. That hit a nerve. I never said that, Bambi replied quickly. But you the one standing in front of me, so yeah, we starting here. There was a long pause. Both women standing face to face now, neither willing to back down. In the background, someone tried to step in, quietly saying, maybe y'all should calm down, but neither of them even acknowledged it. Because at this point, it wasn't about calming down anymore. It was about getting answers. You really think I would do that to you? Britney asked suddenly, her tone shifting slightly, almost softer but still guarded. Bambi didn't hesitate. I think you already did, and that right there changed everything. Because now, it wasn't just accusation. It was belief. Britney's face tightened again, whatever softness was there disappearing instantly. Then that's your problem. No, Bambi said, shaking her head slowly. It becomes your problem when you involve yourself in my situation. The energy snapped again, sharper than before. I didn't involve myself, Britney insisted. Your situation came to me. That line made everyone react. Because what did that even mean? Bambi leaned in slightly. What does that mean, Britney? But Britney didn't answer right away. She just looked at her, almost like she was deciding how much to say and how much to keep hidden. And that hesitation, that silence, it spoke louder than anything else in the room. Because whatever truth was sitting between them, it was still not fully out. And until it was, this situation was only going to get worse. And until it was, this situation was only going to get worse because that silence from Britney did not calm anything down. It only made Bambi more certain that something was being hidden, and once that feeling locked in there was no turning back. Nah, don't do that, Bambi said, her voice low but sharper now, stepping even closer. You don't get quiet now. You just said my situation came to you, explain that. Britney let out a breath, looking away for a second like she was weighing her next move, and that alone had people watching even closer because it was clear this was no longer just an argument, this was about to turn into a full reveal. What I mean is, Britney started slowly, then paused again, he reached out first. And just like that, the room reacted. Someone in the back whispered, wow, another person shook their head, and you could almost feel the shift as everything pointed straight back to Scrappy again. Bambi didn't even blink this time, but her jaw tightened in a way that said she heard exactly what she needed to hear. Reached out how? She asked, calm but intense, the kind of calm that usually comes right before things explode. Britney crossed her arms again, almost defensive now but still trying to hold her ground. He called me, texted me, said he needed to talk. About what? Bambi fired back immediately. About you. Britney replied. That answer landed heavy because now it wasn't just about possible flirting or crossed lines. Now it sounded personal, deeper than anyone expected, and fans are shocked watching this because nobody thought it would go this far. Bambi shook her head slowly, almost like she was trying to process it but not fully accepting it yet. You expect me to believe that he just randomly came to you to talk about me? I'm telling you what happened, Britney said, her voice rising slightly again. You can believe it or not, but that's not on me. Now it is on you, Bambi snapped. Because at some point you should have shut that down. That line hit a nerve instantly. Shut what down? Britney shot back. A conversation? So now I'm wrong for answering my phone? Don't twist it, Bambi replied quickly. You know exactly what I mean, and she did. Everybody in that room knew what Bambi meant because there are certain lines that don't need to be explained, they are understood, and the moment you cross them things change. Britney laughed again, but this time it sounded more frustrated than amused. You acting like something actually happened when it didn't. Then, why hide it? Bambi asked, stepping even closer now. Why am I hearing about this from other people instead of you? That question hung in the air longer than the others because it wasn't just about the situation anymore, it was about how it was handled, and that's where trust starts breaking. Britney didn't answer right away again, and that hesitation was starting to become a pattern, one that Bambi was picking up on fast. Exactly, Bambi said quietly, almost to herself but loud enough for everyone to hear. No, not exactly, Britney said quickly now, like she was trying to regain control of the moment. I didn't tell you because it wasn't that serious. It was serious enough for him to reach out though, Bambi replied without missing a beat that hit directly. Britney looked away again for a split second, and that was all it took for the room to start shifting even more because now people were starting to question everything. You see what I'm saying? Bambi continued, her voice rising again. This don't add up, because you not listening. Britney snapped back. You already made up your mind, so nothing I say is gonna matter. Then say it anyway, Bambi challenged, and that was the moment things almost tipped over completely because Britney took a step forward now, closing the space completely, their faces inches apart, tension at its highest point yet. Fine, she said. He said y'all been having problems, that he didn't feel heard, that things weren't the same. The room went silent again because that was not something anyone expected to hear out loud like that. Bambi's expression didn't break, but something shifted behind her eyes, something deeper than anger, something closer to realization mixed with hurt, but she didn't let it show for long. And you just sat there listening? She asked. Yes, Britney answered plainly, because that's what people do when someone talks to them. No, Bambi said, shaking her head slowly. That's what people do when they getting comfortable crossing boundaries. There you go again, Britney replied, clearly frustrated now, turning this into something it's not, because it is something. Bambi said louder now, you don't get to decide it's not. Voices were raised again, emotions running high, and now people were starting to step closer, not to stop it but because they couldn't look away. You insecure, Britney said suddenly, and that word hit like a spark. Watch your mouth, Bambi warned instantly, her tone dropping in a way that made it clear she was not playing anymore. I'm serious. Britney continued, you blaming me because you don't trust what's happening in your own relationship? That was the boldest thing said so far, and for a second even the background noise disappeared completely. Bambi stared at her long and hard, and when she spoke again her voice was quieter but heavier than before. Don't mistake my patience for weakness, she said. I see everything. I just don't always react right away. That line sent chills through the room because it wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive, but it carried weight, the kind that stays with you. Britney held her stare, but you could tell now this was no longer as simple as she thought it would be. Then maybe you should have reacted sooner, Britney replied, but there was less confidence in her voice now. Maybe, Bambi said, or maybe I wanted to see how far it would go. Another pause, another shift, because now the question wasn't just what happened, it was how long it had been happening and how much was still being hidden. So what now? Britney asked finally, and that question felt bigger than it sounded because there was no clear answer. Not yet. Bambi stepped back slightly for the first time since this started, creating just enough distance to breathe but not enough to end the confrontation. Now? She repeated slowly, now we start telling the full truth. And the way she said full made it clear this conversation was far from over, because whatever had come out so far it still felt like only the surface, and deep down everyone knew it. This was only getting started, this was only getting started, and the energy in that room made it clear there was no walking away from it now, not after everything that had already been said, and definitely not after the direction it was heading. Bambi didn't move far, she stayed right there, just enough space between them to breathe but still close enough that Britney could feel every word before it even came out. You said full truth, Britney replied slowly, almost cautious now, like she was realizing this was getting deeper than she expected. So go ahead, what else you think you know? Bambi tilted her head slightly, watching her carefully. It's not about what I think anymore, it's about what I've seen. That word seen hit different because it suggested something real, something undeniable, and you could feel people around them lean in again, trying to catch every detail. Seen what? Britney asked, but this time her voice dropped just a little. Bambi didn't answer right away. She reached into her bag slowly, and that single movement changed everything in the room because now it wasn't just words anymore. Now it looked like proof was about to enter the conversation. You see this right here? Bambi said, pulling out her phone and holding it up but not handing it over yet. This is what I didn't react to at first. Britney's eyes flicked to the phone, then back to Bambi, but she didn't reach for it. Not yet. Screenshots again? She said, trying to sound unbothered, but there was a slight tension creeping into her tone. Not just screenshots, Bambi replied. Timing, calls, patterns. That word patterns made people react again because it meant this wasn't one moment, this was something that had been happening repeatedly. You really did your research, Britney said with a small shake of her head. I didn't have to do much. Bambi shot back, y'all got comfortable enough to leave a trail, and that right there shifted the power in the conversation because now it didn't feel like an accusation anymore, it felt like a buildup of something real, something that had been unfolding quietly until now. Britney finally reached out and took the phone, her expression unreadable at first as she scrolled, but the longer she looked the more her face started to tighten, and that was all anyone needed to see. Fans are shocked watching this because that reaction alone said more than any denial could. So? Bambi asked quietly. Still nothing? Britney looked up slowly, handing the phone back but not saying anything right away, and that silence felt heavier than anything said before. This don't prove what you think it proves, she said finally, but there was a slight hesitation that hadn't been there earlier. Bambi gave a small nod like she expected that answer. It proves enough. Enough for you, Britney corrected quickly. Not enough to make me the villain here. You already put yourself in that position, Bambi replied. That line hit clean and direct, and for a second Britney didn't respond. She just looked at her like she was trying to figure out how things flipped this fast. You know what's crazy? Britney said after a moment. You got all this energy for me, but where is he right now? And there it was again, Scrappy's absence suddenly becoming louder than anything else in the room. Bambi's expression didn't change, but you could tell that question landed because it was valid in a way nobody wanted to admit out loud. He'll be dealt with, Bambi said calmly. Oh, so you saving him for later? Britney replied with a slight smirk. Must be nice. Don't do that, Bambi warned immediately. Don't try to make this about something else. It is about something else. Britney shot back. Because you acting like I owe you loyalty when I'm not the one in a relationship with you. That statement cut deep, and the room reacted instantly because that was one of those truths that shifts everything even if people don't want to hear it. Bambi took a slow breath, her patience clearly being tested now more than ever. It's called respect, not loyalty. Learn the difference. Respect goes both ways, Britney replied. And coming at me like this in front of everybody? That ain't it. You think I wanted it to happen like this? Bambi said, her voice rising again. You forced it to happen like this. No you did, Britney fired back. You could have came to me privately. I tried. Bambi snapped. You dodged. That was new information, and it made people look at Britney differently for a moment because now it suggested this confrontation didn't come out of nowhere, it was the result of something being avoided. Britney paused again, and that pause spoke volumes. I didn't dodge, she said, but it sounded weaker this time. Then what do you call it? Bambi asked. No answer, just another silence that kept adding weight to everything already on the table. Exactly, Bambi said again, shaking her head. At this point the energy had shifted completely from confrontation to exposure because every answer seemed to lead to more questions, and every question made things more complicated. So what you want from me? Britney asked finally, her voice no longer as sharp as before but still defensive. Bambi looked at her for a long second before answering, and when she did it wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was simple and direct. I want the truth without you trying to clean it up. That line landed differently because it wasn't about winning anymore, it was about clarity. Britney let out a breath, looking away again like she was tired of holding something in. Fine, she said quietly, and just that one word made the entire room still again because everyone knew whatever came next was going to matter. It wasn't just one conversation, Britney admitted slowly. It happened more than once, and there it was, the second major twist, because now everything Bambi suspected started to feel real in a way that couldn't be brushed off. Bambi didn't interrupt, she just listened, her face calm but her eyes locked in. He kept reaching out, Britney continued. And yeah. I answered. Why? Bambi asked, and that question felt heavier than anything else so far. Britney hesitated again, but this time it wasn't avoidance, it felt more like she was deciding whether to be fully honest or not, because at first it didn't seem like a big deal, she said, and then, she stopped. And then what? Bambi pressed. Britney looked at her directly now, no hesitation this time. And then it got complicated. Those words echoed because complicated could mean anything and everything at the same time. Bambi nodded slowly like she already expected that answer, but hearing it out loud still hit differently. Complicated how? She asked, but before Britney could respond there was sudden movement near the entrance, people turning heads, whispers rising, and then one name spreading through the room again, Scrappy. And just like that everything shifted once more because the one person at the center of all this had finally arrived, and the timing couldn't have been worse or better depending on how you looked at it, because now there was no more talking around him, now there was nowhere left to hide, and the moment Scrappy stepped into that room you could feel the entire energy flip again. Conversations stopped mid-sentence, heads turned all at once. once and whatever control anyone thought they had over the situation disappeared instantly. He looked around quickly, reading the room in seconds. Bambi standing firm, Britney tense, and everyone else watching like they were waiting for something to explode, and it didn't take long for him to realize this was about him. What's going on? Scrappy asked, but his voice already carried that edge like he knew the answer before he even finished the question. Bambi didn't waste a second. What's going on is you been real busy lately. That tone alone told him everything. Busy? He repeated, trying to keep it light, but it didn't land. What you talking about? Don't do that, Bambi said, stepping toward him, now shifting her focus completely. Not today. Britney stayed quiet for the first time since this started, watching closely because now this was no longer just her situation, it had fully shifted onto him. Scrappy glanced at her for a split second, and that glance did not go unnoticed. Bambi caught it immediately. Yeah, look at her. Go ahead. Ain't nobody looking at nobody like that, Scrappy replied quickly, but there was tension in his voice now. Then explain it, Bambi said, holding her ground, because I'm tired of piecing things together myself. Explain what? He asked again, but this time it sounded more defensive than confused. The calls, the messages, the conversations you've been having behind my back, Bambi said, each word landing harder than the last. The room reacted again, whispers spreading because now it was all out in the open, nothing left to guess. Scrappy let out a breath, running his hand over his head like he was trying to think fast. It's not what you making it out to be. That's what y'all both keep saying, Bambi replied sharply, but nobody explaining what it actually is. That hit both of them at once. Britney shifted slightly but stayed silent, letting Scrappy handle it now, and that alone said a lot because earlier she had no problem speaking for herself. I talked to her, yeah, Scrappy admitted finally, and that admission sent another wave through the room. Fans are shocked because hearing it directly from him changed everything. About what? Bambi asked, her voice steady but intense. About stuff we've been going through, he said. I needed somebody to talk to, so you picked her? Bambi fired back instantly. It wasn't like that, Scrappy replied. It just happened. Nothing just happens, Bambi said. You made a choice. That line hit hard. Scrappy looked frustrated now, pacing slightly like he was trying to keep control of the situation, but it was slipping. You acting like I did something crazy, he said. I didn't cross no line. You already did, Bambi replied. The moment you went outside of us to talk to her about our issues, I didn't know it was gonna turn into all this, he shot back, but it did, Bambi said louder now, and you kept going. There was a pause, and in that pause everything felt louder, breathing, movement, the tension itself. How many times? Bambi asked suddenly. Scrappy didn't answer right away. How many times? She repeated. A few, he said quietly. That answer made the room react again because vague answers in situations like this only make things worse. A few? Bambi repeated. So more than once, more than twice? Scrappy didn't respond, and that silence confirmed more than any number could. Bambi nodded slowly like everything was lining up now, every suspicion, every feeling. And what exactly were y'all talking about? She asked before Scrappy could answer. Britney finally spoke again, her voice cutting in. He already told you it was about your relationship. Bambi turned her head slightly toward her. I didn't ask you. And just like that the tension between them sparked again. I'm just saying the truth, Britney replied. No, you saying your version, Bambi shot back. Let him speak. Scrappy stepped in quickly, sensing things were about to split again. Look, it wasn't just about problems, it was advice. Advice? Bambi repeated, almost in disbelief. From her? Yeah, he said. She was just listening, trying to help. Help who? Bambi asked. You or herself? That question hung heavy. Britney rolled her eyes slightly. You reaching now? Am I? Bambi replied, turning back to her. Because from where I'm standing it looked real convenient. Nothing about this was planned, Britney said, but it kept happening. Bambi answered, and there it was again, that pattern, that repetition that made everything feel intentional even if no one wanted to admit it. Scrappy stepped closer to Bambi now, lowering his voice slightly like he was trying to calm things down. Look, I should have told you earlier, I get that. Earlier? Bambi said. You should have never done it. That line cut clean. I didn't think it would hurt you like this, he said. That's the problem, Bambi replied. You didn't think. The room went quiet again because that truth hit deeper than the shouting. Scrappy looked at her like he wanted to say something more, something to fix it, but nothing came out right away, and that silence felt different from the others. This one felt like something breaking. Did anything happen? Bambi asked suddenly, her voice quieter now but more serious than ever. That question changed everything because now it wasn't just about talking anymore. Now it was about crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Scrappy hesitated, and that hesitation alone made people react again. No, he said finally. Nothing happened, but it didn't sound strong, it didn't sound certain, and Bambi heard that. Say it like you mean it, she said. Nothing happened, he repeated louder this time, but the doubt was still there just under the surface. Bambi turned her head slowly toward Britney. Same question, Britney didn't hesitate as long, nothing happened, she said, but again it felt incomplete, like there was something sitting behind those words. The family was left divided right there in that moment, because some believed them, some didn't, and others weren't sure what to think anymore. Bambi stepped back again, this time creating real distance between all three of them, and when she spoke again, it wasn't loud, it wasn't emotional, it was controlled in a way that almost felt more serious than everything before. Y'all both had chances to be honest before it got here, she said, and now everything feels different. No one interrupted, no one moved, because that statement carried weight. Trust don't break all at once, she continued, it cracks slowly, and right now I'm seeing all the cracks. Those words settled over the room heavier than anything else said so far. Scrappy looked at her like he wanted to fix it but didn't know how. Britney stayed still, watching carefully, realizing this was no longer just a confrontation, this was a turning point. So what happens now? Scrappy asked quietly. Bambi looked at him, then at Britney and back again, and for a moment it felt like she was deciding something bigger than just this moment. That depends, she said slowly, and the way she said it made it clear nothing about this situation was resolved, not even close, because even with everything out in the open it still felt like there were pieces missing, and until those pieces came out the tension wasn't going anywhere.